Hello and welcome to the Child Care Business Coach podcast. My name is Evelyn Knight. Okay, welcome everybody. I have a treat for you today. Today I am joined by Mandy Minitello from the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Program, which if you've been listening to me for a while, you've heard me talk about the Unstoppable Entrepreneur Program probably several times. They are the coaching company that I use. Mandy is an accountability advisor and part of the management team. She was actually a teacher also, so she's definitely familiar with working with children. And she does have some background with ECE through an internship. So, Mandy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what you do with UE?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. Currently, as you said, I am an accountability advisor and pod manager for the Unstoppable Entrepreneur, but that is a lucky step on my path from where I have been. So I actually graduated from California Polytechnic University with a degree in human development, which ages me a bit because that's what it used to be called. Now it would be child development. So, but human development was also a minor in psychology. And I always planned to go into the education field with that. So yeah, I did some internships with Montessori schools and traditional public schools and spent 17 years in education as a teacher and then administrator and then teacher trainer. And fortunately or unfortunately, I'm sure your audience feels the same way. Teaching is not the same as it used to be. And I sort of lost that passion, drive, creativity that we used to be allowed in the classroom. And I'm a firm believer that if you're not the best person in the classroom, it's time to leave because that's a gift for kids. And so when the time didn't feel so right anymore, I left. And I'm excited that a couple of years later, I find myself here with the opportunity to use that training and that expertise in the psychology and the education as a business advisor. And so I went from teaching small kids to teaching big kids, but at the same time, it fulfills my teacher heart in the same way. And so I absolutely love it. And I feel like this is where, all roads led to one place, and I love it.
Right. And I totally agree. And like we were talking about before I started recording, so many of us in the ECE field were also started out in the public sector. I actually did my student teaching, went through the motions of becoming a teacher going through the public sector, but I just knew I could not live. So I had to go into the private sector when the public sector just disenchanted me, basically. So a lot of us in the EC world, that's why we're here, because it is private and we don't have to deal with.
And it's so important. And I know I went through a time where I was like, should I just open a preschool or something? Because it's a way to use the gift that we have.
Yes. And that passion. And so many of my audience are exactly the people that you're talking about, who they were teachers, they were moms, they're passionate about being around children. So they do go into early childhood education as owners or directors, but they don't have any business background at all, which is where I step in. I just help them with that lack of business knowledge to help them have successful childcare centers. And so ironically, too, I'll just mention before, is I also have a degree in human development. So and a degree in psychology. We're similar in that one there. So today we're going to be talking about just referral marketing and the power of referral marketing in our industry. That I think is probably the number one. The question I get is, how do you get customers? And for me at my childcare center, I went from really struggling with enrollment and having a revolving door at my centers and to having wait lists of hundreds of children. And it really was a referral. And it's funny, when I talk to people, I tell them, like, I pay very little for advertising, very little for at this point. And it's because of referral marketing. So that's what I really want to focus on today, is how to just build a really strong client-based referral marketing system. So talk to me a little bit about how if you did own a childcare center, how would you build on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So referral marketing is my expertise. I drive the referral marketing program for Unstoppable Entrepreneur. So what I'm really skilled at and good at is, again, using my training to take referral marketing and be able to utilize it for across any industry, really. I mean, it's so important. No matter what your industry is, your goal is to, like you said, spend less on advertising, preferably spend zero on advertising. And the power that can allow you to do that is referral marketing, regardless. So in an industry like early childhood education, it's all about that word of mouth, and moms and dads are willing and able to naturally spread the word. They're going to. It's just like when, I don't know, ground beef is for sale at the grocery store, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, go to the grocery store. You don't need to like have a reason. You just, moms naturally help out. So it's almost like you would have a built-in referral marketing program. And I think we talked a bit about it beforehand, that is just an inherent part. But the skill and the bread and butter of it is systematically utilizing on purpose that referral marketing program. You can't rely on something that's not measurable. You can't rely on something that's not data driven. So how do you take that natural word of mouth and move forward to where it is something that you can systematically and consistently count on for your, to use a business term, for your lead generation, for your continual clients coming through the door, your continual students, so that you know that when some graduate, you have a whole new class coming in because your referral marketing is something that you can count on.
Right.
So that's where it gets important. And the thing is, it really is simple. The number one thing for a referral marketing program really comes from your staff and your director from inside. The thing that's going to drive your referral marketing is every single day, your North Star needs to be what results your clients, in this case, your students and your parents, are getting. If you wake up every morning with that vision of what results am I getting, then that's where the referral marketing program comes from. You don't then have to consistently tell your friends about us, tell your friends about us. They're going to do that. And so it's a win-win, because your center is going to get better and better and better because every day you're driven by getting those results. And then your students are going to get a better and better experience because you're constantly improving, constantly making it better. So it really is, I mean, at the core of a referral marketing program is just that constant vision of how can I keep improving? And then at the same time, you want to make sure that it's easy for your clients, in this case, your families, probably the parents, that they're able to articulate that recommendation, that referral. Because there's a difference between Evelyn's Child Care Center is amazing and having something that's measurable. So you want to make sure that what you measure your success when you're talking to your teachers and you're talking to your aides and you're talking to your staff, and what is the level, or what are the measurables that determine successful growth in your students, and then make sure that parents know, so that they know, this is how we're measuring successful growth in students. This is what I see in your child. And so that then when they're ready to refer to somebody, it's very easy for them to articulate the measurable growth that they've seen, whether it's in their student, it could be something academic or emotional. It could be in the center itself. This is how we're measuring our success because we are doing X, Y, and Z to get improvement. It could be just, I mean, there's a whole gamut of things, but you want to make sure that what you're measuring, your level of success, is translated to the parents so that they can articulate it. Because honestly, it comes back to the referral. How easy is it for them to share something with their friend, one sentence or two? You know,
that they know,
you don't want to hear an essay about everything about what's going on in the, or for them to say it's really great. And then someone says, oh, what do you know, what do you mean by great? No, I don't know. I really like it. Like,
It's just they're fun and yeah, right. But
right,
no, I
right.
totally agree. That's where it's so important to educate your families and your staff, because sometimes your staff can't even articulate and they don't even know what makes you different, what makes you stand out. And one of the things I teach a lot, Mike Michalowicz teaches about having your business's queen bee role and really understanding what that is. Or this, a lot of people teach it as a superpower, right? And I
Mhm.
hear that all the time about knowing what your superpower is. And for me at my childcare center, our high quality research based standards are that's our superpower. So everything revolves around that quality piece. And my staff is trained on it. They can identify it. We also have parents have to go through an orientation process. Plus, we do 2 annual parent conferences, which are mandatory, that educates them on what you were saying, the results. And that, when we bring them in, we really just helped them to educate on why are we different, what are we trying to accomplish, and then twice a year we show them, look, this is how we've accomplished it.
Right.
So then, exactly like what you're saying, then they go out and tell their friends, well, look at my child has grown. They bring out this portfolio and they show me from the day we started the sample work we take to 6 months later, look at how much they've grown. And that's where we show them the samples. And then and you're absolutely right. Then when they're talking to their parent, the other friends and family, they say, yeah, my child couldn't even hold a pencil when they started. And now their fine motor skills are amazing. And of course, we're teaching things like terms like fine motor skills, their emotional competencies, things like that. We're intentional about teaching about it.
Absolutely. And you just said it, you need to be intentional. I
Mhm.
know that in my experience in some early childhood centers, the parents drop them off first thing in the morning and they pick them up at the end of the day. There's little or no interaction
Mhm.
with the teacher, which is, okay sometimes. And you get a paper sent home. Fantastic. But the paper just says whether or not they ate lunch,
Right.
how many diapers were changed, and, whatever. There's no, here's what your child learned. Here's the attachment of their work, or this is what we're working on this week. Here's some suggestions on how you can take it home. All of those things are what's speaking. If nothing
The
else, think of it as
quality.
speaking
Right.
for your referrals,
Yes,
right? Like,
exactly. Right.
I do
It's
want to know how many diapers were changed, but I also would really like to know, you know, that's not going to sell my friend on your center.
Yes. Well, and a lot of people misunderstand early childhood education. They confuse elementary education and early childhood education. So they assume that children are just playing all day.
Right.
The way we are structured when it comes to a high quality program, it may appear like children are just playing all day, when in reality, that's how they learn. So that's where educating your parents is so very important, which is a huge missing component. Well, and I don't think people even understand how that plays into referral marketing, where it's just, if all they ever see is their child playing, they're not going to understand the work that's going into the facilitation of learning during the play. So they're not going to be articulating to their friends like, oh, my child learned so much. And a lot of times you might even be losing customers because they're assuming their child isn't learning anything because all they ever see is play. All they ever see is, when you're sending papers home, it looks like it's just random art. They don't understand the learning behind that random art. And they don't understand just how important it is to play with Play-Doh. They don't understand the learning that goes behind that. So you're missing so many opportunities if you're not educating your parents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, it takes a little bit of extra time to type up something about why this finger, what they learned through this finger painting activity or whatever. But you type that up, print it out, and
Mhm.
stick it on the back of that finger painting. And what you've done is now you've solidified for that parent that was beyond play. Number two,
Right.
they might do it at home, which is going to help you out for that child to make more connections. And then also, again, back to what we're talking about, the referrals, when they're talking to
Right.
their friends, they're going to share about their experiences.
Well, and part of how we do it to simplify that process, we actually have set up private Facebook groups for our classrooms, and they are really just secure, so you don't know that not people from the outside are looking in. We invite the parents in, and we do take pictures of the children in action, and then we explain. Like, we'll do just a quick post on, this is what the children are learning today. It may look like just play, but this is actually, and then we go through the realms of development, and that this is teaching them literacy because this is teaching them math because, and you've got to put the because behind it.
Absolutely.
And then, so it's easy enough to just, all the parents are seeing it all at once. We also have a software program that we use that sends emails and text messages out with the same information. It's important because now in today's world, not everybody's on Facebook. Not everybody reads their emails. Not everybody likes text. So it's so important that when we are doing this, we're using every single type of communication possible.
And again, that's going to go back to referrals as well. When someone's asking about my opinion of my child's education center, and I'm like, it's amazing because they share with me. I get texts, I get emails, I get the Facebook notifications. Like, that's that right there. Everything that you do that can help improve, from the student-centered stuff, but even like, just like you're talking about, the center itself and the communication, all of that is going to lead to back to your referral program.
Let's talk a little bit about motivating the parents and being more intentional. What would you suggest on motivation factors to make sure that when they do run into their friends and family, it's beneficial for them to really refer your program?
This is where you have to sort of but set aside that teacher heart and put on your CEO hat, right? You need to think of it as business. And what motivates people is going to be that feeling of what's in it for me, right? So, of course, when you wake up and your North Star is, how can I make my center better? That's going to drive your referral program, so that people feel good sharing that referral with their friends and family. But what's going to keep it in the forefront of their mind when they're talking to their friends, or when they're posting on social media, or they're sharing with other people at work, is going to be that thought of, what are they getting out of sharing this referral? So you want to reward them in some way so that it just keeps it front of mind. So then the number one thing is, of course, that their child is getting a wonderful education, and they, from their heart and soul, want other children to get a wonderful education. And so they're going to share it with the benefit of, that community benefit. That's always going to be number one in any industry. When they're sharing, if it's coming from a place of they truly are happy with the results,
authenticity, right?
They share that. Exactly. It's the reciprocity. But then the second reason is going to be something that you can do to benefit them. Can you give them, and the thing that speaks to most people is money. Yeah. So can you give them some kind of a discount, a free month, a one-time payout, something where, for every person that they refer who joins the program or joins your center or enrolls for a year, however you do it, that they get some kind of payout. And again, this is where I'm saying you got to put on your CEO hat, because it has to be. I don't care what your payout or what your referral reward is. But once you determine what it is, you need to stick to it, and then have some kind of a system, a database, something to keep track of it, so that it's consistent. So that if I refer my friend this month and they enroll, and then I refer somebody else in 3 months, that I am sure that whatever the reward was is consistent, systematic. Otherwise, I refer someone and I get some reward, and then in 3 months it's completely changed. I'm now confused, and I'm not going to enroll I'm not going to refer anymore, because I don't really even know what's going on.
Or even I've referred to programs that promise something and then they haven't followed through. And that's the other reason I think it's very important to have a documented system. And it can be as easy as keeping a spreadsheet that you're tracking consistently. Just put it on the calendar. If days of the month, like once a month, this is when I'm going to do the payout for this specific program that I have. But yeah, I totally agree.
It can be completely simple. It just You can't change
Yes.
it.
Yeah. And you have
You
to
can't
track
change
it.
it.
Yes. You
I
can't.
mean, with UE, we have a giant referral marketing program. But if you look at the core, it's still as simple as keeping track on a Google form and using PayPal to pay out. So
Right.
it's not, I mean, it's just consistent. And the thing is too, if you have a smaller, like you have a smaller center and you're not quite sure how to go about doing it, people also love access. So
Oh,
if you're
right.
not ready to do a payout kind of system, which is, pretty easy to put into place, you could also give them some kind of, everyone wants to feel like a VIP. So
Yes.
you refer someone and you give them some kind of a VIP experience or a training or an extra parent night or, something where they're getting something. It doesn't always have to be a financial payout.
Right.
So depending on where you are, I mean, there's always, I say you can start a referral marketing program if you have one customer.
Right.
So start it from the beginning. Start it with what you have, what you're capable of. And then you can always grow and scale your referral marketing program. But once you start it, you want to stay consistent so that it's something that people can count on. And before you know it, it is a snowball. It starts with one person telling one person, you're like, oh, I got my first referral. Everyone's very excited. And within 6 months, you've doubled your program. And you didn't even
Right.
realize it because you didn't spend money on the advertising. It just naturally happens when you focus on it and when it becomes, like I said, you put on your CEO hat and don't think of it as like, oh, I love that everyone's telling their friends. No, you're purposely putting things into place so that people are telling
Right.
their friends.
And then you're tracking it. And that is so very important. The other component I think that's important is to make sure that for me, because I do give away a free week of tuition for referral, I also want to make sure that I'm not losing out on that. So I do pay out after the family that is referred has been with us for a full month and they've paid their bill for a full month. That's something I've learned the hard way, is
Yes.
making sure that they've paid for 4 weeks worth of childcare before they pay out. So even if it is like you were saying, that access piece, like for me, it might be since I do I do a lot of parent counseling. I might just do like, hey, a quick 30-minute session to help you. I don't know. It could be something as simple as help make bedtime go smoother, right? A 30-minute session one-on-one with me to help bedtime go smoother, or potty training,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. Even just, okay, after that referral has been with us for 4 weeks, then you will get. So that's the other thing I would just recommend is don't give it right off the bat, because you never know. That
No.
person might leave after the first week. You may not get payment. So just making sure that it's worth your while for sure.
Yeah. And we want to think the best of people, but
Yes.
obviously there are those out there that would split that payment with their buddy and then
Mm-hmm.
default.
And then
Yeah.
just leave. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes the referring family just has no control over it. They're just, the family coming in, and life happens. So sometimes things just happen and it doesn't work out. And your program, it may not just be a fit for the family coming in. So just always be ready. And after being in business for 15 years, I've just learned the hard way.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing, along with having a systematic plan for keeping track of the referral, like payout or however you're doing the rewarding system, you also want to make sure that it is abundantly clear in as many different communication forms as you have, the process. How do you want people to do the referrals? Like, is there like, are you going to do something like an affiliate link? So check this out. Or are you going to do something like where they fill out a form when they're checking out your center and it's who referred you? I mean, it can be very simple, but you want to make it clear so that if I'm coming in, I know how to let you know that somebody told me about this.
Right.
I want them to get credit, but I may not automatically say, Susie Smith told me about your program unless you give me an opportunity to share that somewhere.
Right. Right.
And
So
filling out the paperwork for my daughter, and it says right there, we love to build our community. Did you hear about us from someone? Oh, okay. I wouldn't have normally said that my friend Callie told me to go there.
right. That's a good point. That's something I might have to add to my enrollment form because I haven't actually had an intake form on that. Usually my parents will come to me and say, "Oh, I referred this person to you guys." But you've got a really good point. How many people might have fallen through the cracks
Right.
that family might even refer more if they get a bonus that they weren't even aware existed.
But you want to make sure that everybody is clear on your system. It has to be systematic. So if I am the referring family, do you want me to let you know somehow that I referred someone? If I am being referred by somebody, how do I let you know that somebody referred me? So
Right.
you want to make it clear on both ends, however you want it done. Um, if you have a form that, or not a form, but some kind of something with your families that are existing, like, have you told anyone about us this month? If you've already told them that they're going to get some kind of a reward, then they're going to keep it in their foremind. And then if you have like a monthly something where they're sharing who they shared with, it's going to be
Yeah.
dependent on the however you work with your families, but you definitely want to make sure that there's a system in place and it's shared out exactly how you want those referrals to go.
Right. And even if you have a wait list, you still want that word of mouth going through. Just one of the things I've learned is that wait lists do go away. And sometimes in this industry, we get so caught up on look how full I am today and look at my wait list. So now I don't have to do it anymore, which
Yep.
branding is so very important. You always have to have that brand. You always have to keep it going. I think 2020 was a great example of that, where we all had, just we were doing great and everybody was in a good position, and then it just dropped out. And so even with a wait list of 300 children at one of my centers, I did still like, okay, so out of those 300 children, how many am I still going to get at this point? So you just never know so don't ever make the assumption that, okay, well, we're full now and I've got all these kids on a wait list, I don't need referrals anymore. We always need that word of mouth going by.
The other side of that coin too is whatever you're using for your advertising, whether it's you advertise in social media, you advertise in paper media, whatever it is, that could go away in a heartbeat.
Yes.
If the internet was gone, if, like, who knows? So
Right.
referral marketing is the one piece that is number one, free. And number two, not going away no matter what happens in the media world.
Right. Right.
So you always want to
Yes.
keep that as for me, my thought in any industry is your number one marketing should be human to human. And
Right.
then everything else is
That's a very good point. So many of us nowadays are reliant on Instagram and Facebook. And I think in the last couple months, we've seen a huge shift of people leaving Facebook and Instagram. And it really kind of shocked me just to how many of my own personal friends were just starting to drop their Facebook accounts, getting tired of all of the rhetoric on there. And so it was kind of a reality check for me in that, wow, this could go away. This, people could just get tired, and this trend that is such a huge part of our life could end up going. And like Periscope at one point was so huge and popular, and now it's gone. It's just, in MySpace, I'm old enough that MySpace was the thing. And now who has a MySpace, right?
right. Right. And even if they don't go away, it's like, what's the next
Yes.
best thing, the next new thing, Clubhouse or whatever.
Yes.
Like you need to always be staying current, but the thing that never changes is, like I said, human to human marketing.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. And yeah, and even email marketing was huge, and now nobody wants to open their emails anymore. So that's a good yeah, we just get so many. It's just too much at this point. But that is a very good point. Well, Mandy, this has actually been wonderful suggestions for my industry, my peoples. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us. And if any of my listeners are interested in UE, tell them where they can find you. And I will actually also put a link in the show notes for you guys where you can find more about UE.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We love to grow our community as well. So definitely, Evelyn, put your referral link in the show notes so that you can learn all about Unstoppable Entrepreneur. And we're just happy to grow our community and to share all that we do. We are the fastest growing business incubator program in the United States right now. and just really, really proud of the success that our clients have when they work with us.
And I can attest to that success since I am one of the UE clients. Thank you again so much, Mandy, for joining me today. And please check out the show notes for more information about the Unstoppable Entrepreneur and to find out how you can learn more about them. If you're finding value from this podcast, be sure to join my Facebook group where I do a live video every Monday morning at 9 a.m. on the type of mindset that we need to be successful in our childcare careers. Again, thank you for joining us today.